The Winnipeg Blue Bombers are 8.5-point favorites over the aforementioned Alouettes on Thursday night. Zach Collaros seems ready to return from a neck injury that held him out of last week's win over Calgary. While it remains unclear if Cody Fajardo will play for the Owls after sitting out the past 2 games due to a shoulder injury. Who do you have in this game, Hodge?
I'm going to have my cake and eat it too in this one. I did it last week with Fajardo, where I took the Redblacks if he did not play, and I took the the Alouettes if he did play. I'm going to take Winnipeg to win this game no matter what. I think Zach Collaros is going to play in this game. I think he was held out last week for precautionary reasons. I believe that Winnipeg is going to be very motivated after playing what was ultimately a very poor game in Calgary. Calgary did not play well either. Winnipeg was still lucky to win that contest at McMahon Stadium. Very sloppy effort, really on all 3 sides. The defense, didn't break when it had to, but ultimately this team is much, much better than what they put on the field. So I'm taking the Bombers to win no matter what. But if Fajardo plays, I'm taking the Alouettes to cover what is a relatively wide spread. If he does not play, I think Winnipeg is going to win this thing by double digits. I think they're motivated. I think the defense is going to generate some takeaways. And I think that this one could get out of hand if Cody Fajardo is not there for the Alouettes, who are coming, by the way, off of a short week. So give me the Winnipeg Blue Bombers no matter what. Alouettes to cover if Fajardo plays. Bombers to cover a wide spread if it's Caleb Evans.
We are of one mind, Hodge, because I'm in exactly the same boat as you. I think the Bombers win this no matter what, but I like the Alouettes to cover if Fajardo is under center, which I suspect he will be this week. For me, with Winnipeg, they've been far more inconsistent than they have been in years past. They've laid some real duds out there on the field, including last week, although they escaped through it. But every time they've laid one, Mike O'Shea has rallied his team, that veteran team, and they've come out fired up the following week. I think they do that against the Alouettes, largely undercutting our whole previous segment in which we praised Montreal. They're going to lose this week.
I think the Bombers win and cover regardless if Cody Fajardo plays or not. And part of that is because it's a bounce back week for Winnipeg. But I think the other part of it is the Blue Bombers knowing they can create some separation here with the BC Lions atop the West Division after their loss in Week 11 to the Rough Riders. So I really like this spot for Winnipeg. I think Montreal can hang and compete a little bit, but that game earlier in the season in Montreal with the rain, I thought was a bit of an equalizer to keep Montreal maybe closer than some people expected. So I like the Bombers, put it on them big time.
The Toronto Argonauts are 9.5-point favorites versus the Calgary Stampeders on Friday. The Stamps won a recent meeting between the two teams, though Chad Kelly was unable to play most of the game due to an ankle injury. Can the Argos exact revenge for the only loss they've suffered all year?
Yeah, I think they can. I think the only question in this one is if the Argonauts cover the spread here. And part of that is because I think Calgary's going to have a bounce back effort, but I don't necessarily have confidence in that because Jake Maier has been consistently poor, I would say, this season. He has more interceptions than touchdowns, and I don't really love them coming into Toronto against a rested Argonauts team that, yes, they do have 10 straight games in front of them, but is coming off a bye and I think are playing at an elite level whenever Chad Kelly is on the field. So it seems crazy, and it's back-to-back games for me because I'm taking the Bombers to win and cover with an almost double-digit spread. But I'm all right with doing it with the Argonauts because I just don't see how Jake Maier has consistent success to keep this game close at BMO Field.
Coming off of a bye, Ryan Dinwiddie is going to cook up some special stuff to beat his former colleagues who are all the way through the Calgary Stampeders organization. These two teams know each other very well. And though typically I would say that leads to a close game, I think that coming off the bye with the extra motivation for the loss, I think the Argos can get it done here. Jake Maier is going to throw at least one pick in this game. I will take the Argos to win and cover the widespread at BMO Field. I really will.
There are only 2 relevant questions when talking about this game. Number 1, Will Cameron Dukes see any significant action? God, I hope not. Number 2, how many weeks has it been since Jake Mayer threw a touchdown? 4. Come on now, guys. What are we even talking about here? This is not going to be like the upset where Kelly went down. He's going to sling it around the park. Mayer didn't even score a touchdown in that upset win. I don't think he has any juice to do it this week. Toronto wins it going away.
By the way, this ties into our earlier segment where we talked about how the Alouettes are going to have a heck of a time finding their way to first place in the East Division. There's actually one very easy path we did not talk about, which is Chad Kelly, heaven forbid, suffering a serious injury. If that happens, all bets are off. Heck, Edmonton could finish first in the East Division if Chad Kelly misses heavy time. The BC Lions are 10-point favorites against the visiting Hamilton Tiger Cats on Saturday night, where they look to bounce back after being upset by the Riders at Mosaic Stadium in Regina. Is this an easy win for the Leos?
There's no such thing as an easy win in pro football, but this might be as close as it gets because the Lions are going to be fired up after they came out sort of lackadaisical against the Riders last week, got punched in the mouth, tried to claw their way back. Vernon Adams Jr. throws for 455 yards on one leg, but they still can't make the comeback. I think they're going to be ready to go. Vernon Adams Jr., I don't think his injury was serious, and he'll be healthy for this game. And the Hamilton Tiger Cats don't really have a quarterback. Taylor Powell is meh. So I don't trust them to beat a strong BC Lions defense. I think the Lions win and cover this wide spread like many of the other top teams this week.
Tommy Condell was really the issue in Hamilton. Man, that is so bogus because this team is awful. I think rightfully so. The Tiger Cats are at the bottom of our 3-Down Nation power rankings. And I thought the photo on that particular piece of content was so perfect. Steinauer, hands on top of his head, just looking completely befuddled at what's going on with his team. And I hate to do it for a third straight game because it's a massive spread, but the Ticats have been terrible when they've traveled to the West Coast. So I give Hamilton no shot. I don't care who's at quarterback, even if Bo Levi Mitchell's walking through that door. The Lions are going to feast on them Tiger Cats and cover a massive line.
I've also got the BC Lions to win and cover in this game. Call it a revenge game, call it what you want, but this is a perfect storm, in my view, for a blowout win for BC.
All right, I'm a little nervous here, boys, because when we agree on everything, something usually tends to happen that goes the other way. We'll see how it goes with the first 3 games on our slate. The last one of the week, the Edmonton Elks are underdogs at home when they'll host the Ottawa Redblacks this week, where they have a chance to snap a 22-game home losing streak 1 week after getting their first victory, of course, on the road in 2023. Can the Elks do the unthinkable and win a second straight game and actually win a game at home?
I'm going to go with the Redblacks here, and that's not because I don't think the Elks have taken positive steps. I do. But this game is essentially a pick'em. The Redblacks have not been getting blown out. Their losses have been very close. They have lost 4 straight games. All of them, outside of the one game in Toronto, where they actually played very well, have been close games. I think that the Redblacks are going to win this game. I do think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be competitive. My biggest question is, will Dustin Crum and Trey Ford combine for more passing yards or more rushing yards? Because those two guys know how to move the rock with their legs. But I've got the Redblacks to win this game and cover the spread. I would be happy to take Ottawa up to +3, but I also wouldn't be shocked, for the reasons we talked about off the top of the show, if Edmonton found a way to do the unthinkable and win 2 in a row.
Somebody's got to disagree at some point in this podcast. So I guess I'll be the stupid dude to do it, and I'll pick the Edmonton Elks to win at home, which I'm going to deeply regret, I'm sure. But Trey Ford is much better at protecting the football than Dustin Crum has shown, and he's been much better at not taking stupid sacks. Let's put it that way. I think he's going to be the better of the two young quarterbacks in this game. I think he's also going to be the better of the two quarterbacks running the football as well, because Justin Crum runs a 4.7, Trey Ford runs a 4.4, and that Ottawa defense is also pretty vulnerable to him through the air. I think Edmonton does the impossible at Commonwealth this week.
JC, I don't think you're dumb or stupid or whatever you said. I actually think you're a very bright, smart young man. And I'm going to agree with you here. I think the Elks stop this streak. Trey Ford, put out your Heck Crichton stiff arm because it's about to be over. They should have done it a couple weeks ago against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. That's part of the reason I'm so confident in this year. I'm not even worried about looking stupid, but if it happens, hey, whatever. I think the Elks win this game and finally, end all this talk about this infamous home losing streak. And then maybe Chris Jones can be warranted in saying that he doesn't want to talk about it anymore, but it's going to be talked about forever, whether he likes it or not.